Okay. Hey everyone, welcome back to another special episode of AH's Hubs into Masters in Placement series, where we dive into journeys of those who've taken bold steps towards global education. In today's episode is extra because I'm joined by someone who I've personally looked up during my college days, not just as a student but as a true leader. He's someone who's led one of the most vibrant and impactful clubs in campus, inspired hundreds of juniors like me, and left a lasting legacy in the college culture. He's now pursuing his MIB in UNSW, Australia, one of the top B schools globally, and he is here to break down everything choosing the right university to funding SOP visas and life abroad. Please welcome my senior, my mentor, and a role model to many, Saravanan Balaji Anna. Super thrilled to have you here.
Thank you, Larish. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to have a talk with you. Really happy to help. Let's start. Yeah.
Now. So, Anna, what made you choose MIB in Australia and how did your profile stood out?
Okay. So before we start, MIB is known as the Masters of International Business. It's more of an alternate to the MBA in Australia. So to have a MBA degree here, you'll have to have at least a minimum of 5 years of work experience. But if you're a fresh out undergraduate, then I think you can opt out for this course because it's going to give you the same essence as what you get to learn in an MBA. Well, about the question, uh, it's a pretty interesting story, and I think I started as a mechanical engineer back in VIT Chennai, and back in that time, engineering was my true passion. And but then after joining, I realized that it was not my cup of tea. So I wanted to explore more on myself, and I wanted to move towards something which might be pretty convincing for myself. And I was pretty active in all these college activities, clubs, and the extracurricular activities, which made me realize that I'm more of a management person. So that is how I wanted to pursue my career with respect to the management field. And regarding the MIB course, it's something which happened in a flow, but then now it feels like, okay, I know something about this course. Well, this is something which is not very famous out there because most of the students who are trying to pursue their master's degree will look into options like Master of Science or just another MBA degree. So I had to do a lot of research on this course before I had to select it. And sorry, coming back to your question, what was it?
Uh, Anna, like you have answered like why did you choose MIB, and the second part is how you made your profile stood out amongst all the global applicants.
Profile is pretty simple. Well, you'll have to, uh, since I was from an engineering background, I had to take extra efforts to show that I'm more inclined towards the management field. So I had a pretty strong resume back in my undergrad days because I was pretty active with all my extracurriculars, and I also had a few internships happening. And back in my undergrad days, we also had a startup which really helped me to boost my resume's brownie points, I would say. And together with all of these extracurriculars and my, ardent interest towards management, I was able to build a strong profile. And I think that really helped me to, stand out in the crowd to get a seat here in UNSW. Yeah.
Okay, Anna, thank you so much. Now moving to the next question. What made you choose UNSW and how did you shortlist the universities during your research phase?
Okay. So during my research phase, there was a lot of things happening globally, I would say, because the United States, they were having a lot of issues with the academic side, and UK, they also had a few visa issues. And when I was trying to shortlist a few universities, I was pretty confused on what to do. And then something really magical happened. One of my family friend who was here in Melbourne just gave me a talk saying that, hey, just try out Australia, it's a pretty good place. And when I tried to start my initial research, I was going through the top universities in Australia. So this is how you actually do it for any country, I would say. So just sit for a proper 1 hour session, I would say, and first try to shortlist the countries which you want to actually look into, and delve into the top 10 universities of that country, I would say. And after you get that shortlisted, now move into the shortlisted 10 universities and check its global ranking on how good they are in the international standards. And based on that, you can actually shortlist that. So when I was doing this initial research, I found Australia to be a very convincing point for me because um, you finish a 2 year degree here, you get plus 3 years of visa for your post study work. And that's pretty interesting and was also very welcoming for international students because I don't think any other country is having this option. Even if you move to the UK or Europe, you have a maximum of 6 months or like 12 months, I would say, post study. And if you don't land in a job, you'll have to fly back to your own country. But Australia is not like that. It's pretty welcoming. So even you have a job or not, for the next 3 years, you're pretty sorted after your degree is done. So that is one good thing about Australia. So this is how the shortlisting thing actually works. You sit down, go through the top universities of that country and go through its global standings and check what kind of courses they're offering and if they're pretty convincing for you. And yeah, that's it. That's pretty much the process.
Okay, now Australia seems to have great advantage in this. And
Yep.
let me move to the
Really.
next question. So, can you
Sure.
just walk us through your SIP writing process? Any specific tips or mistakes to avoid? I heard people seek help from a separate organization to write their SOP. So, can you just explain on it now?
Okay. So statement of purpose is pretty important when it comes to international students. And the ideal process is to write about why do you want to join the university, and it has to be pretty convincing enough for the university's team to actually be, okay, this student is willing to study with us, so we'll have to shortlist him. So first things first, when you start preparing for this, make sure that you have enough evidence and you have done enough things in your undergrad days so that you can actually use it for your statement of purpose. And every university has a different format which is to be followed, and you have a specific word count and you have a specific um, format to be used for any kind of an SOP for any university specifically. So stick to that format which has been specified by the university. And yep, we do have a lot of third party companies which will help you out with the SOP writing process. But what I would say is, if you have done enough things or enough, extracurriculars or co-curriculars in your undergrad, I think it's pretty much okay if you do it on yourself. I mean, you can do it by yourself. It's pretty simple. It's not a very difficult task. You just have to be specific, clear, and you will have to follow the format. And once you do that, you will be having your own, script of your statement of purpose. And once that is done, I think nowadays you have a lot of these AI tools which can help you to refine the content. Do that, and I think you're pretty much good to go. But also, I would say the third party companies would do a really good job when it comes to framing the SOPs, because I did have a personal experience with one such companies where they helped me out with writing the SOP, but it was for different universities I applied. And they really did a good job. You've got to pay for it, but once it's done, I think you'll have enough, you will have the actual value for the SOP, which can be used. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Now the next question: how did you plan your application timeline from exams like the Australia has some exams like IELTS, GMAT, or TOEFL
Yep.
to getting LORs and applying? So how did you manage all
Ti-
these tasks and get it done streamlined?
Timeline is the most crucial part, I would say, because um, getting the visa sorted first is the biggest headache for any international student. And for the visa to be granted, you will have to have all the documents ready before before you even apply for the visa. So what I would say is, it usually takes 8 months to 12 months for the whole process. So I'll just tell you a small gist of what I did. So I started applying for my university back in 2023 November, and I also sat for the placements from VIT Chennai side because I wanted to try both and see what's actually clicking on for me. Well, fortunately, I would say I was not selected by any of these placement companies. So I had to start applying for all these universities. And around December, I would say, I started applying for different universities. And by January, or I think by January's last week, final week, I got my call letters from universities. Now it was time for me to give my IELTS exam. It's the language for English proficiency. So I gave my IELTS test in the month of Feb. And one good thing is, um, about the IELTS score, you will get the results in just a couple of days. So I wrote my exams in the week of second week of February, and then I got my results in like the third week of Feb. And with that, I was able to confirm my call letter. And once that was done, then I was asked to get all the transcripts from my undergrad university, which is pretty easy when it comes to VIT, I would say, because you just apply it online and get it done. And once you get that, you'll have to send it back to university, the master's university, and they'll take some time to assess all of that, and they'll give you a final call letter, which will also have another section where you will have to submit the SOPs, LORs, and a few more documents which they ask. And once all of that is done, it was around the first week of July or second week of July, I would say. So I know I was into UNSW by the second week of July, and I had applied for the September intake. The fun part is, I was yet to apply for my visa by the month of July, and I just had 1 month's time to get my visa approved. And one issue with this process is that you'll not have enough breathing time between the transcript submission and the visa application process. So I was able to submit all my documents only by July's third week, and my term starts at September first week. So I just had 1 month of a time period for me to apply for the visa. Well, according to the Australian rule or the Australian government, it would usually take 45 days to 120 days for your visa to be granted. So I did apply for it in the month of July, by the end of July, and surprisingly, I was lucky enough to get it approved by the end of August. I had booked my tickets prior on August 31st, and I got my visa on August 30th. It's a very close call, and yep, so I had to pack in like a day's time and fly to Sydney. So, what I would say or suggest is try to get your visa process sorted as soon as possible, because that is the only thing which might hold you back from moving up, from flying back. And with respect to transcripts, I think the universities will definitely help you out, be it whatever university you are studying in right now. They're going to help you out with the process. So, yep, that's pretty much the process.
Oh, thank you so much, Na. And did you explore any scholarships, part-time jobs, or external funding sources to support your studies? Like, how is the student economy there, and how did you manage
Okay.
now?
This is a pretty common question. A lot of these students ask about the cost of living here in Sydney. Fun fact, Sydney is the second most expensive city to live in the world. First one is New York, second is Sydney. So it is pretty expensive to study or to even survive here. So what I do was, um, for my first term, I did not search for any part-time job because I wanted to know how the system works here at UNSW. So I wanted to spend all my time on studying and to score good marks to know how the pattern actually works for gradings and for exams and stuff. And once that was done, I was able to plan my time schedule on what I can do to earn money. And then the next term, I started applying for part time jobs, and I would have applied for more than 150 or 200 part-time jobs, and it was all rejections. It's very difficult to land on a part-time job here in Sydney, or be it anywhere. I have a few friends in UK and the United States. They all have the same issue. It is difficult to land in a job as an international student in a different country, but if you've got good referrals, you'll definitely land in a part-time job. And I did have one of my friend who was working in a chain of restaurants, and he was like, "Hey, just send me a resume," and I was able to land on a part-time job because of him. And to be honest, if you start working, you can manage all your expenses on your own. You don't have to get any money for the living perspective. But the college fee, it's something which you will have to figure out. Maybe it can be from your bank loan or maybe from your personal funding. But the cost of living is very manageable if you land in a part-time job here, because the basic pay is around $24 to $25 per hour, and you get to work for 24 hours per week and 48 hours per fortnight. That is the calculation. So you might make around $500 to $600 per week, which is very doable, because the rent might be around $300 per week, and you'll have the rest 300 just for yourself, which is more than enough to lead an amazing student life here in Sydney. So landing in a part time is a difficult process, but once you get it sorted, you're well and good done. Yeah. And for the scholarships, well, you should have a very good profile. Back in your undergrad days, you should have a good CGPA, a few research papers published, a few projects, maybe a few patents from the government. Even that would really help. So if you have a really vibrant undergrad, profile, then I think you're eligible for all the scholarships here. And the maximum you can get is around 45 to 60%, which is difficult to land. But in case, we might have students who are like extremely good in the undergrad days. For example, I had a junior in VIT Chennai. I think you had an interview with him. Um, so he had a very good profile. He had almost around 25 to 30 papers published already, and he had around 15 to 20 patents with him. So for such people, you might get amazing scholarships, not an issue at all. But if you're an average student who is trying to move to another country, then you will have to, know to balance your funds without the scholarships.
Anna, how different is learning and classroom experience in Australia compared to the Indian colleges and universities? The famous
Um,
question.
it's very different. It's very, very, very different. So the concept of uni works in a very different way here. So for each subject, so first talking about the workload, um, you're allowed to choose a maximum of 3 subjects per semester, which is very less, I would say, because we used to we used to almost 8 or 9 papers per semester back in our undergrad days in India, but here it's just 3. But the 3 subjects are very heavy, so you'll have around 24 hours of pre-read for every subject, which means you'll have to cover almost 75 hours of pre-reading before you jump into the next week's class, and you'll have to finish all of that before you sit for the class, because you will have a lot of uh, marks and gradings for your class participation. Especially for business schools, you will have a lot of uh, case study discussions and group discussions, which will give you around 25% of your total grade for that subject. So you have a lot of pre-read to do, which is very important, and that will help you to gain a lot of marks. And when it comes to classes, for each subject, you'll have 2 classes. One is called as the lecture, and the next one is called as the tutorial. The lecture is where you have around 180 or 200 students in the same classroom. The classrooms are huge, so you get to sit with around 200 students from different cultural backgrounds. You will have a common lecture, and once that is done, you will have a tutorial. The lecture goes for 2 hours or 3 hours, and then the tutorial goes for another 3 hours. So the tutorial is where you sit with around 15 students in one classroom and you have a tutor, and you will delve into the real life problems and the case studies which you have been dealing in the lecture classes. So it's more of you get to learn the same topic twice in the lecture and in the tutorial. And tutorial will give you a better understanding and a perspective on how these issues work. And yep, so first things first, you will have to talk a lot. You will have to take a step out from your comfort zone, and you'll have to go around talking with people, building networks, and that's really going to help you to survive here. I don't think we do it very usually in our undergrad days back in India. I do know a lot of these college juniors who are like very silent and they really want to step out of the comfort zones. Where I think then pursuing a master's degree is the only way, because the only way to survive here is by building a network and by talking with a lot of these people. So the grading systems are pretty not weird, but it's interesting. At the same time, they give you a lot of importance to your mental health. So when you're stressed with a lot of assignments, you can just type a mail to your professor saying, "Hey, so and so, I'm having this issue, so I need some more time," and they're gonna give you another 2 weeks to finish the assignment, and they're not gonna, you know, cut down on your marks. So it's pretty chill. It's a very slow paced life, not like what you're doing in India. Definitely not. But as a student, you'll have to spend a lot of time in studying, and that will really help you to get good marks here. That's it.
Okay, now. And finally, now, what advice will you give to the students preparing now? Anything you wish you knew earlier that you could have just avoided it?
Anything I wish I knew earlier. Okay. I think you will have to pay extra attention to your resume while you're building it. So work on a lot of projects, try to get a lot of certifications, attend seminars, guest lectures, publish a lot of research papers. If you're having a good faculty team, just sit with them, work with them on projects, get your research papers sorted, because in India, I know a lot of these students are having authors, the names of authors in research papers. It's been saturated to a level that it's very common for all the Indian students to have a research paper under them. But back in other countries, it's not like that. They'll really value a profile if you have a single paper under your name as an author. So just try to work on research papers. Even if you're trying to move towards the management field, try to reach out to your faculties from the business school at your undergrad university. For example, VIT has the VIT's business school, and I had one such faculty who really helped me out with a publication, and that also helped me to land in this business school here in UNSW. So work on research papers, work on projects, and apart from all of this, they give a lot of importance to extracurriculars. So please be active in all of that also. I know there's a lot of things right in front of you right now to handle: extracurriculars, research papers, academic standing, CGPA, and whatnot. So it's going to be difficult for you to manage, but once you do it, you will definitely land in any of these good business schools or any good engineering schools as well. So get a research paper sorted, projects, extracurriculars, co-curriculars. That's it. You're good to go after that. Yeah.
And Anna, one personal question, and I
Yeah.
think I might need this. And
Sure.
how did you deal with homesickness now?
Ah, so nobody actually deals with homesickness here. The problem with this culture or with this studying pattern is you will not have time to miss home. That's the problem, because you will be working, you'll be studying, you'll have to do all the pre-reads, and all of this will be there. And apart from all of this, you'll have to cook 3 meals of food for a day, and you have to do laundry and washing utensils. A lot of these things are all, managed, and you'll not have this time to sit and repent on, missing your home, or you want to fly back. But eventually you'll have this thought that we're doing a lot of hard work, and you would have been this would have been much easier if you were back in India. But one way to handle that is just enjoy all your free time here. Go around, walk around the city, keep flying, keep getting things for yourself. Once you start working, you'll have some money so you can gift yourself a lot of new goods or stuff. And stay in constant touch with your parents, and that's it. So basically, when you have this thought of flying back to a new place, just know that you'll not have time to think about your home. Yeah.
Okay, now that's it. Now we are in the end of today's session. I'm really happy to have you here, and thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for giving your valuable time. Happy to
Thank you
have
so
you
much,
here.
man.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you. I'll see you.
Yeah.